Welcome everybody to Beat the Shift Baseball. This is episode 129 for Tuesday, May 3rd. I'm Alex Uy, here today with Farbod Markazi. 1 month into the season already. That means we have our Players of the Month for April to go through. And Arod is still doing Arod things. And this time sharing what he'd do as commissioner for a day. I think we can do better than him. And as much as we love to talk trash about our New York and LA teams here, we have to admit they're off to pretty good starts across the board. Farbod, I know you must be pretty happy with your LA adjacent team.
LA adjacent, you know it, man. Just think about it like this. I know the Angels have had Aprils in the past that they started off hot and dissipated throughout the rest of the year. I know they've started off 13-3, and however great they've started off in the past. In the past like 5 years, they've had great Aprils sometimes. But 15-9, first place in the AL West right now. 1 month in, Rendon is still regaining his strength after that hip surgery. Ohtani's not the same Ohtani, and he's still getting back to where he was offensively. Adele is a liability on defense and sometimes at the plate, and so those guys are still kind of holding us back. But we got Trout being Trout, Taylor Ward being Mike Trout, Patrick Sandoval not giving up an earned run until May. It's all looking pretty good. I'm pretty excited. There's a stat, and I know I jumped onto this topic pretty quickly and very excited about it. There's a stat that I saw watching the Sunday baseball games on Fox. Said entering Sunday, that was the first time in Major League Baseball history that both New York and Los Angeles teams, so the Mets and the Yankees and the Angels and the Dodgers, each led their division at the same time.
Yeah, I can think of two of those four teams in particular, which may take most of that blame for that little nugget of history. But that's cool. Those are the teams that we love to talk trash about. And of course, I'm a Yankees fan. You're an Angels fan. We got a Dodgers fan. We talk a lot about these teams and kind of how concerned we are about them, except maybe the Dodgers. And here we are. We have nothing to complain about. I guess instead we can just speculate, right? And just like who out of these teams is most likely to remain like leading their division.
I know I wrote that question, and I'm kind of regretting it because obviously, if we're going to choose one of those four teams, it's going to be the Dodgers, right? We just checked the stat.
Well, let's play it backwards then. Like who's the most likely to fall off of all of these teams?
Man, I don't want to hate my team. We were checking stats, and I think the acquisitions Perry Manassian made in the offseason definitely have been working out great so far. Lorenzen's been a great starting pitcher. Syndergaard's been fine, been pretty good. And we have like some of the offensive guys have been pretty solid too. The Mets went out and they spent a lot. I think it's one of those two teams. It's hard for me to hate on the Angels, but we checked the stat before we started recording, and I had assumed the Angels starting pitching ERA and performance was a lot higher than it was. I mean, they're 13th in Major League Baseball, which isn't bad, but the Mariners are a couple spots higher. So the Mariners are there. If they catch fire, they could be easily in that hunt, and they are in the hunt of taking the West away from the Angels. The Astros are going to be the Astros, but then when you look at the Mets, it's kind of a cop-out answer. I'm saying both, but when you look at the Mets, you have all of a sudden the Braves, the Phillies, that you have teams that are going to compete for your spot. But if DeGrom comes back, I don't know how you're going to beat that DeGrom Scherzer dynamic duo at the top, and they've been hitting really well too. And then I'm going to get into your favorite team, the Yankees. I think we've seen them get hot before, and then who knows? At the end of May, we could be talking about them going on 10-game losing streaks.
Dude, you don't know the half of it, okay? Like this is Yankees fandom. As early as a month ago, like leading into the season, it's doom and gloom. We got anti-vaxxers, we got old men with injury history, and we're like, oh my god, what are we doing?
This roster sucks. Boone season.
Yeah, exactly. But it is a streaky team. It's probably not going to be this good the entire season. And it's kind of weird that you're talking about like division contenders. Like the Yankees are in the best division in baseball, so they are going to have to deal with surging uh, Blue Jays and Rays teams. Maybe the Red Sox too at some point. But uh, yeah, I might be a little worried about my Yankees still.
Some
But
divisions are pretty stacked if you think about it. I mean, obviously, I know the
dude,
Dodgers are probably
it's the AL East, man. Like I'm
yeah.
sorry.
No, I get it. I get it. The AL East is definitely completely stacked, and they have the track record of being stacked. But I mean, the AL West, I don't think is. I mean, the NL West isn't very stacked. The Centrals aren't too stacked, I guess. The AL West, if the Angels keep it up, the Mariners keep it going, and the Astros pick it up, all of a sudden that's going to be a good division. I'm not going to say it's going to be as good as the East, but that's going to be a good. It's going to be a pretty fun race to watch as we see as we head into the later months.
I don't know. We'll see. Let us know what you think about these big market teams, our favorite teams even. But
I'm
you can
excited, man. It's been a lot of fun baseball to watch. And I mean, the Angels are over 500, and they finally broke the trend of getting to 500 and then losing the next game. So I'm pretty happy with how things have been looking so far. I'm really happy to have Mike Trout back too. I think all baseball fans are.
yeah. Anyway, do that at Beat the Shift BP, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Okay.
Sorry. Hey,
No, it's
you
fine.
got
It's fine. It's not. It's
you.
just a plug. It's not that important. My feelings aren't hurt. It's okay.
How about you plug this after every segment now?
I'll just plug it after every time that I get interrupted mid
Wait, what do you mean?
talking
No.
point. All right, so at Beat the Shift. No, okay. Let's keep it rolling. Players of the month for April, kind of on that same note. I mean, these are the players who were off to the hottest starts, and I don't think there were any upsets, at least that come to mind right away. In recapping these, but I'll just run through all these names, and we don't have to harp on every single player. Like we know they were awesome. It's kind of just about what's the future going to look like for them. So in the American League, for the major awards, the Player of the Month, the Pitcher of the Month, and the Rookie of the Month, we had Jose Ramirez, who is the Player of the Month. He just absolutely tore it up. 341, 421, 707 slash line. That's a 707 slugging percentage, by the way, and a cool 7 homers, 28 RBI to go along with that. And then for pitcher of the month in the AL, Logan Gilbert, .64 ERA, .93 WHIP, 27 strikeouts in 28 innings pitched. Nothing wrong there. That checks out. And then AL Rookie of the Month. Maybe it's been a little while since we talked about him, but Stephen Kwan, who came out of the gates as hot as maybe any rookie ever to start their career.
He didn't have a swing and miss for like 5 games. I think I don't even know the
No,
stat.
it was long. Like yeah, he didn't have a swing and miss for like the first week of the season. Didn't strike out like at all throughout spring training, and didn't have his first strikeout in the big leagues until like after a week into the season. The hype was real, with Stephen Kwan, and then quieted down a little bit. But the final first month numbers still look pretty good. 340 batting average, 439, 472 to round out the slash line. No homers though. 6 extra base hits to go along with that. He just got on base all the time, even after cooling down a little bit. So that's the AL side of things there. And then on the NL side, Nolan Aronado taking home the Player of the Month. 368 batting average, 435 on base, 697 slug, 6 homers, and played tremendous defense to go along with that as
Oh
well.
yeah.
Almost 2 WAR in a month, which is a lot if you don't know. Um, he
Well, Jose
might
Ramirez almost did the same thing.
he
Two
might
war.
have, yeah, and a lot of similarities there that we can talk about more. But I'll just finish out the rest of the players. Pitcher of the month in the NL, Pablo Lopez, for the really strong Marlins starting rotation. Led the way with a .39 ERA. Yep, that's right, and a .73 WHIP. 23 strikeouts to go along with that. Again, no complaints there about who's taken home that award. And in the NL, the Rookie of the Month was none other than Seiya Suzuki, which is also no surprise. 278, 398, 528 is the slash line with 4 homers. He just looks good. He looks at home here in the big leagues. And he was one of the biggest question marks coming into the season. So a good variety of names here, with guys who are proven, guys who are kind of maybe showing the next gear, the next step up here. If you had to rank, among these players, like who you think is the most likely to be back on, you know, on this list for any of the future months, who are you taking? Just pick one guy who you think really looks like they're here to stay.
Pick one guy. I guess if I'm picking one guy, it's gonna be Jose Ramirez. Uh, Without a doubt. I mean, with all due respect to Gilbert and Lopez and have what they've done on the mound, pitching wise, it typically swings back. I understand that they've had incredible months. I don't think Pablo Lopez is going to hold it below 1 ERA, or Logan Gilbert are going to hold it below 1 ERA for the rest of the season.
No, but
Nolan,
I mean, like they look like they're coming out of the gates as legitimate
absolutely.
aces. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
They're both coming out and they look incredible. They look, if if they can keep it going. I think we if they did this another month, then you can be like, "Oh yeah, there they are." They're kind of relatively unknown in terms of consistency, production throughout a whole season. Now, Jose Ramirez, we can't say the same thing for. I know he had a down year, not last year, a couple years ago, but every other year he can just flat out rakes, man. He hits for power, hits for average. He drives in runs. He can play good defense. He also got paid in April, so maybe that inspired him a little bit. But he got that $124 million contract extension in April, so he's not playing like he's playing for his job. He has his home. He's comfortable. I think he's going to be most likely to continue what he's doing. Arenado, I think his average and on base might come down a little bit, but he's always going to play that good defense. He's always going to slug. Arenado is going to be a great player too, and I'm thankful for his production, and my fantasy team thanks him as well.
Yeah, Arenado kind of proven some people wrong, especially on the fantasy end of that. He's not, like, last year looked pretty good away from Colorado, but did not put up Nolan Aronado type numbers. This looks a little bit better. Also, a little bit suspect with like a 400 BABIP to this point. So I'm with
He,
you there. I don't know if Nolan Arenado is gonna keep keep on doing what he's doing. In all honesty,
I'm
I'm
rooting for it.
still I'm rooting for. I'm skeptical. I'm mightily skeptical of him. Probably more so than any of the other names in this list. If I'm
And then
taking,
sorry, go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say, oh, follow us at Beat the Shift BP, by the way, for another one there. Yeah, Seiya Suzuki in the NL just might win Rookie of the Month every single month. Like he just
Yeah,
looks totally comfortable with major league pitching, which is the big thing that you're looking at. Like, yeah, he's gonna have that power, but he's taking pitches, like he's getting on base at a 398 clip to start off, and it's not done on the back of some ridiculous batted ball luck. It's just he is comfortable and he hits for a lot of power. So I think he could have even better months than this one that he had. It would not surprise me at all.
my other fantasy team thanks him for his contributions. Hey, yeah, I'm
Same.
very excited. I didn't get into Stephen Kwan or say. I mean, to be completely frank, I didn't know much about Stephen Kwan before he burst out into the scene. Couldn't
Nobody
swing
did.
and miss for a week exactly, and then Seiya, I did draft him in fantasy, but I said it right here on this podcast. Sometimes, like, no matter how good international players are, you don't know until you know. And now I think we've gotten a pretty good glimpse that we know. Obviously, we got to see it for a little bit longer to see if he's a streaky guy or if he's just, like you said, just looks comfortable and is comfortable and is ready to go. I'm very this was a great month of baseball. It also, Uy, I'm going to go off on a tangent here if you let me.
Ooh.
Uh, it also commemorates one of the greatest moments in Major League history. 10 years ago in April, now that we finished April, I'm going to talk about it. 10 years ago in April, Mike Trout was called up and Bobby Abreu was released. And Mike
Yes.
Trout
Okay.
took off. And if you're talking about a guy that just looks like he's going to be the rookie of the month every month, like you said with Seiya, that's how that was. And do you feel old yet? Mike Trout's been in a superstar for 10 years now.
Yeah, he's only 30, so I don't feel that old. I had no
Dude.
idea where you're going with that, by the way. I was like, what happened this month? Like I was that could have gone
Not this
anywhere.
month, last month, but yeah.
Or yeah, in
Like at
April.
the end of last month, yeah.
Sure. Yeah, well,
Bryce Harper came up too 10 years ago.
who cares? It's not Mike Trout.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, let's just keep it going here, and let's get into a segment that I I don't know. This kind of thing is my bread and butter right here. Is taking the weird and wacky in baseball and just amplifying it uh, to the fullest extent. And Arod I think is kind of that same way where he just does not care what people think about his ridiculous. It's almost like satire of himself at this point. Like, I don't know if that's how he perceives it or if he's just that insane, but he could be. He could be. Hold on, I actually need to pull up the tweet to share with you these
I
A-Rod
got it ready if you
commissioner
want
for
me
the
to.
day. Oh yeah, if you have it, then why don't you let us know what A-Rod would do if he was given the ultimate power to do whatever he wanted with the game.
So, Arod yesterday on what show was it? Yes,
It was Sunday night
it was
baseball. The
Sunday Night Baseball.
the
So
K
they put up
Rod.
a whole
Yep.
yeah, they put up a whole graphic with Arod's top 5 to do items if he were commissioner for a day. First of all, make the strike zone more wide and less tall. Secondly, illegal defense 2 and 2, 1 foot on the dirt. That essentially means um, both. There has to be 2 defenders on either side of second base, and they have to start on the dirt. So essentially, trying to get rid of the shift. Then he had to open up the cameras for all 60 batting cages. Kind of odd. We can get into our thoughts on these in a second, but I
Yeah,
mean,
you can finish off the list and then we
okay.
can. Yeah.
So in parentheses under the batting cages one, he says access from your phones, give people more content. Then he had 10 pitchers max on the roster, limit the amount of call-ups. Yeah, dreams aren't important, and health isn't either. And then I believe so. K's hand covers the first words in this tweet, but I believe it's mid-inning entertainment, like the NFL halftime in NBA shows.
Mm-hmm. That is correct.
That's what A-Rod would do as commissioner for a week. I mean, if he were commissioner for a day.
Yeah, and not the worst, not the most A-Rod thing A-Rod's ever done, but I think one of those stands above the rest in terms of just how ridiculous the idea is, and that would be the limiting to 10 pitchers on a roster and
Yep.
limiting call-ups in conjunction with that, and basically just
Yep.
forcing. The idea would be to force starting pitchers to throw more, just like each pitcher in general to throw more innings in a single season. So
All of these guys are just the back in my day folks of like back in my day, my pitchers went 8 innings, threw 145 pitches, and they just want to see pitchers go longer. And granted, I do enjoy that. That's one of the reasons I'm such a fan of like old school type pitchers like Max Scherzer. But there's a reason baseball's gotten to the point it's gotten with how they view starting pitchers' roles in every game and the bullpen's role. There's a reason we are where we are, and it's funny seeing people who have a good platform and a lot of intelligent people around them completely disregard that and want to go back to the old days.
Yeah, dude, like I don't know. It is are people kind of like I didn't live back in the day when every starter seemingly was throwing like 300 innings or whatever, but the guys who were good and actually, you know, threw gas and were the best pitchers in the game and able to do it at that bulk were huge outliers, and they are today still. Like the best pitchers in the game who combine having the nastiest stuff with the ability to throw like 200-ish innings, like that's super impressive. There's hardly any pitchers that can do it now, and there weren't that many pitchers that could do it back in the day either. I mean, a lot of these guys, if they were running out the starters for, you know, 7, 8 innings per start, no matter what happened, they were not putting up spectacular numbers to go along with it. You know, maybe a couple strikeouts a game. They're whipping the ball in there at like 90 miles an hour. They're getting shelled on occasion. Probably like ERAs up in the fours and fives is not uncommon. Like I don't like maybe that's his whole idea is that like he just wants to see more pitchers go out there and get absolutely shelled. But like I
Wait,
don't
so
think the teams want that.
the graphic itself, and I didn't watch the segment. Did he elaborate on what it means to limit call-ups? Because what
No, well,
if
it's I think that's just to counteract the natural response to okay, well, I can only have 10 pitchers on my roster at a time. Oh, well, I will just make sure to kind of recycle fresh arms on my roster by calling up more players. I think that's what he meant.
dude, it's absurd. Look at the injury history. I don't get it.
Yeah,
It
basically you're telling everybody that you want pitchers to not throw as hard because that's the only way they would be able to throw as many innings as players did back decades ago, or I don't even know what the alternative is. You just want pitchers to like be worse. that's
yeah.
that's it. Um, so as far as Arod's ideas go, like you know, not the wisest guy out there, but I think we can do a little bit better if we had to implement some rules as the beat the shift co-commissioner. I guess what's would be the term for us as a group governing body, whatever it may be. Uh, we had a few ideas. This really sparked our creative juices. So I don't know. Do you want to start? We can kind of take turns with some of
Yeah.
these. I think this is the best way to go here.
I'll start, but I do want to throw a little caveat in there. As everyone knows, our name is Beat the Shift, so clearly we're not going to end the shift. Uh,
Yes, that's a given.
that's 100% a given. Secondly, to start off our list, and we pulled each one of us. I know I'm the only one on here with Uy, but we all talked about it. First off, we're gonna rejuice the baseballs. You want to get more
Yeah,
offense? Let's throw some meatballs up there, or some baseballs that will travel 20 feet further. Yeah, why not? That'd be fun. I'll take a Mike Trout 80 home run season. Why not? That'd be fun.
dude, we
Uh,
had the juice balls. Like we had it. It was there, and we liked it. I think everybody
it, wa-
liked
it,
it. We
wa-
didn't like the fact that the league just, kind of kept it a secret, and players were like, "Dude, what the heck is going on? Like, why did we not get a heads up on this?" Um, I think it was. I thought it was pretty fun, and now they kind of deaden the balls again. Last year and this year is even more noticeable so far, and people are like, "Dude, what the heck? What's going on? Where are the homers? Where's the offense?" It's that simple. Just rejuice the balls. Throw some sticky stuff on there too. A little pre tack on the balls, and we'll be
that
happy campers.
That is one that didn't make this list in our top 5 or top 6 that I had the idea of is hitters get to choose how much spider tack is on the balls that they get thrown.
Ooh, so not just a little bit of pre tack, but pre spider tacked balls
Well,
potentially.
we heard Chris Bassett talk about how slippery, how bad the baseballs are, and why so many guys are getting hit. So if a hitter wants like precise accuracy, but like make it harder. It'll also make it harder for him to maybe hit the ball or make it easier for the pitcher to like dot its spot. He might want more spider tack if he
Maybe
wants it.
just give him a jar out there with the rosin bag just right next to there. Let
Yeah,
him do whatever they want.
just
I
let the hitter spider tack the ball up, and then throw it to the pitcher.
I think that's a fair compromise, right? Like the pitchers can be nasty, but if the hitters make contact, that ball's gonna jump. So hope you know. And I just missed the offense there, man. All right, so this one, I don't think this one would help offense. This one might be kind of counterproductive there. But let's just robo umps, human umps. It's such a tired debate. Let's just have the catchers call their own balls and strikes, guys. Like, come on, we can be civil. The catchers won't abuse their powers, surely. It's an
Yeah,
honorable
they have no
game.
relationship to the pitcher or the team that
Yeah,
they're on. So
it's a game. It's a very honorable game, right? And say catchers start to get a little bit overambitious and maybe try to steal some strikes for their pitchers in their own right. Maybe not within the definition of the rules. I think the batters in the opposing team should have that equivalent fair right to protest in a potentially physical manner to get that catcher in line, if you know what I mean.
well, it also it's not that if one catcher is a bad ump that the other catcher can't also be a bad ump. But it could also end up just being fair of like, oh man, this guy's blowing calls for my offense because he wants to be nice to his pitcher. Well, I'm gonna do the same thing.
No, but I think this is well. You see, that's a slippery slope. I think the player policing, the on field policing of this honor system is gonna be important. So, you know, if a batter and catcher disagree, then they're gonna have to settle it there on the spot, and you know, then you can move on. I think for the most part,
I
it'll
don't
be
know.
snappy.
I wouldn't trust. I mean, I trust players, but I probably wouldn't say we want them to police themselves, considering one of them has a bat in their hand. Um,
All right,
but
so you gotta drop the bat, and it's just fisticuffs. You gotta take the catcher's helmet off, um, drop the bat, and then it's fair game.
yes, my favorite one that we did though actually
This one
might
was
be
mine.
the favorite.
This one was mine.
It's yeah. This was really interesting. This might be my second favorite. It might be my favorite. Position players rotate at positions every out. So and so gets an out. First baseman goes to second. Second baseman goes to short. Shortstop goes to third. Third goes to what, left, and then they
Well,
go all the way around. Right fielder goes to
you
catcher.
see, you
Catcher
see,
goes to pitcher.
that's not quite the position number system, but you had the right idea. It was close.
Well, I was going around the other way.
Ah, okay, okay. Um,
What you want? Yeah.
anyway, I'm just giving you a hard time. Yeah, volleyball style, man. Just every single out, you gotta rotate it up. You gotta be a much more versatile athlete at that point. Um, I I think part of this would not include the pitchers. Maybe that would be a little bit much. But have a new guy gear up in the catcher's gear every single time
Well,
and see what happens.
that was my concern. I feel like it's easier to make someone pitch. Obviously, they won't be good. Than make them put on the damn catcher's gear every time. That's my only concern.
Well, so
Because that would
we could just
you're
do it.
talking about we're talking about shortening games. That's going to lengthen games by a couple hours.
What if everybody just already is wearing catcher's gear though?
Oh, so
It
the
would not.
outfielders have to work.
Yeah, it wouldn't waste any time. You just run. You just get right in there, and
At least they have
you're ready to go.
shields for when they're trying to run out a fly ball, run to a fly ball and catch it.
hmm Well, if you wanted to cut that concern out, I suppose we could just rotate the seven position players behind the pitcher there, and have a similar added level of interest. That one is a real idea that I think should be considered, and yeah, not to say these other ones aren't real, but speaking of, let's get into our next one here.
This one's completely real.
Yes. So nobody really cares about garbage time in baseball, right? Like a not very close game, a non-save situation going into the ninth inning. I think the best way to make it much more exciting would be in any non-save situation in the ninth inning. You have to have a 12-year-old kid pitch to big leaguers, and it'll either make the margin much closer by the end of that, and then you can go ahead and bring in a closer. You basically get a closer every single game, or the 12-year-old kid gets out of it against big leaguers, and it's the most hype thing ever. Because even in a not close game, if a 12-year-old kid pulls it off, everybody's gonna be hyped. So there's just no downsides to this that I can think of.
The
Maybe I'm wrong.
the only downside is we might have to put like some sort of L screen on there. We don't want any lawsuits of
Psh,
bodily injury.
dude,
Uh,
they're not toddlers. The kid's 12. Just stick the glove up there. Make it out in field your position. Field your
a
position.
100 mile. I guess like with that speed. I mean, with how fast the kid would be throwing, I don't think the hitters can line it back at 100. Um,
And we talked about it too, right? It's the honor system. Any big leaguer out there who's gonna try to take a 12-year-old's pitch right back up the middle is, I don't know.
people
That's just
if
not
people
cool.
say you
I don't.
can't.
I think that's not going to be a problem. I think big leaguers know better.
People say you can't aim your hits, and sometimes I would say that's probably true if you're facing someone who throws like 95. But if you're a big leaguer and you're the eighth inning guy was throwing 94, and now this 12-year-old's throwing 48, I think you can at least somewhat quite adequately be like, all right, I'm going to go oppo, or I'm just going to pull this as well as I can. Maybe it'll go up the middle, but the kid's safety's my biggest concern, obviously. Uh, but at the same time, I feel like that'd be fun. They do have to have, and mind you, they do have to have a birth certificate that says I am 12 on it.
Yeah,
Has to be
right.
clarified.
Instead of checking for sticky substances, they just check their birth certificate
Yeah.
every time.
No younger, no older.
Do you think they? What about permission slips? Like they have to get mom and dad to sign a permission slip. You think?
I'm sure there's going to be a waiver and permission slip signed. There's no
Yeah.
way that. I mean,
Well,
yeah.
maybe we'll work out the kinks if we get the opportunity to implement that one. Um. Oh, okay. So let's you go and give us the next one. Take this one.
Oh yeah. So we had several of them. I was just finding one that for me would have been interesting to talk about for the last one. Every ball is live, even in the stands. Could you imagine playoff game on the road? And so I don't know. Xander Bogaerts hits the ball into the. So basically, this is saying there's no ball that's foul. Xander Bogaerts hits a ball into like third base side into the stands, and all of a sudden you see Aaron Judge running up the concourse through a bunch of Red Sox fans trying to get the ball. Do you think Red Sox fans would tackle him, not let him get the ball, and like make the play?
Well, you see,
I,
this adds a lot more complexity to the competitive formula here, really, and it's a much more involved uh, game now for the fans, where you have to be prepared. You got to know who's around you. You got to plan out different areas of the stadium where you need that home team advantage. You want to have fans of your team in the right spots there. And I think to amend this, because it would be pretty unfair to even in a mild mannered crowd to make your way through the stands up there as a position player. Yeah, your cleats on, everything. It could take a little while. So I think at the same time, fans should be permitted to slow down the runner to make the
what are they gonna
to
do?
make
Untie
to
his shoes?
yeah, no, like you just get out there and be an obstacle, right? Like you gotta get through fans just the same way that you would have to if you were running through the stands out on the base paths. So if you can picture that, I mean, it used to happen back in the day. Big exciting walk off hits and stuff, fans would storm the field. It's kind of the same idea, but you just have it on any ball that leaves the field of play. So,
Hey man,
um,
I'm a fan of that.
I think it can work. You did say that was the last one, but I'm
Go
not
ahead.
gonna do Mr. Rudy dirty on this one. He is not here, but he had one of my favorite ones that we had come up with in our brainstorming session. So Rudy, I got you. And this one might be the biggest game changer of any rule changes that we can think of. Is that all players and coaches, but just the entire team, right, has to remain celibate for the entirety of the baseball season. And I think we are going to see a very different brand of baseball, different kind of
I
different kind of energy, and I'm curious to see where that leads. This is a
I got the math wrong in our group chat yesterday because I wasn't trying to do math. But do you realize how many players would be taking at least a game or 2 games off in the middle of the season because they have to go to the birth of their child? And I know that still happens, but I know also in sports, players try to plan their family around when they have to be at their committed time with their teams. I think it's a hilarious rule by Rudy, but I think this is one that would be likely we as commissioner we would face a lot of heat for, and I don't know if it would be passed.
what if the commissioner's office also had to remain celibate just to make it fair?
I don't think the commissioner's office would do it then.
Well, if we're the commissioners, you know what? I'll take the bullet. I'll do it if the players are on board just to stand in solidarity.
What a
Uh,
team player.
if your only concern is having the I guess the intermission of player children births in the middle of the season, just encourage everybody to try to time it up best they can to be around the All-Star break. So, I know it's a very, very small window of time. You can't really aim for it in
So
that sense, but
you're gonna make our superstars miss the All-Star game,
yeah,
the event that captures the best of the best that there is in baseball.
they should just extend the All-Star break then. That way, maybe a few people miss it, but then that way you just have a nice little break in the middle of the season where all the I don't know, all the family growth can occur. Uh,
Family growth.
I don't want to be too graphic with things.
Okay, I
Most people know
appreciate
how it
that.
works. Anyway,
No.
that was a very important one that I had to make sure made the cut here. So we had
Thank you.
six different rules that we'd introduce if we were commissioner for today. I think we did better than Arod. Let us know what you probably, if you're listening, have much better ideas than us. We're only four minds, so we're open to suggestions. We want to be commissioners for the people, so we will take all ideas into consideration. Tweet us at BeatTheShiftBP if you have genuine ideas, or leave a comment if you're watching on YouTube. Any of that stuff. So yeah. All right, that's all of the main segments we have. Let's get into
No.
our last thing, which we've done the
Uh,
first couple times this season. I'm gonna
I'm a.
stick with sliding by, and
I,
I'll
I
let you
think it's
explain the rest.
sliding by because it makes sense. It makes sense. You're just sliding by for a week. So let's get into this weekly edition of Sliding By. Alex Uy joins a team's fan base for a whole week and not only watching their games and cheering them on. I'm talking diving into their Reddit, into their team's Twitter, finding out all the ins and outs that make that fan base what it is. This
I'm
week,
just being a
Uy,
fan. I'm just a fan, man.
yeah, this week Uy might have had a tougher time um, because of the team he was rooting for, but Alex will tell us about his time as a Rockies fan. The Rockies currently sit at 13-9, a game and a half out of first place in the National League West. Uy, I'm gonna give a little spiel here. Last year, they traded Nolan Aronado away and $50 million to the Cardinals. So myself, you, and I'm assuming everyone thought that was a sign that they were heading down a path of tearing it down. This offseason, they spent big money on Chris Bryant. Uy.
Yes.
Other shows, I'm really interested in like mood trackers and how fan bases feel. And I know other shows have mood trackers, and I don't want to call it that because shows like Josh Pate's show um, do that, and I don't want to get sued.
I
But I
know who
want to
that
talk
is.
start. He's college football.
Oh.
I want to start with the overall mood of the fan base. How does Colorado currently feel about their team and their outlook going forward?
Okay, so I've only been a Rockies fan for a week, but you get the sense right away, from the outside looking in, especially, that this is a fan base that is not too thrilled with the current state of their franchise, their ownership, and you gave the context, and it just seems like a madhouse. It's not that they're not spending money or they don't care about the team. It just it's a circus, and I think that's kind of the basis for most of the expectation that goes on. It's like, hey, if this somehow works out, awesome. I do not expect this to work at all because what are we doing? Um, Nolan Arenado very appropriately was the player of the month in April. I'm sure Rockies fans loved that. They're actually like I didn't see much talk about Nolan Arenado. The team fan base has moved on pretty quick just because, like you said, they've been good so far this year. 13-9 start to the year, and that includes a not so fun to watch 4-game road sweep in Philadelphia, where you know they just got trounced by the Phillies. They got out hit. They made a lot of errors. They Nothing looked good out there. Like I don't know what to tell you. It was a rough start to this little exercise, but they turned it around. They got to face the Reds at home, and it went about as well as you'd expect. It's the Reds, so they swept that series, a respectable 3-4 record on the week. Um, but even better, like the rest of the season, I think Rockies fans are very, very pleased with the current state of this team.
Really?
Yeah. Like
That's
this is because, like I said, the expectation was I don't know what's going on here, but this is good.
the expectation is no expectations.
Yeah, like if it works, this could be cool, and it's pretty cool right now.
I
So
had a
yeah.
I had a friend in middle school who was a Rockies fan, and throughout that time and throughout high school, all he would talk about was 2007 Matt Holliday. So I'm glad that they've gotten over that being their last time they were a contender. But staying on the Bryant topic, and I know I mentioned him in the last question. So many many teams, in my mind at least, kind of expect their big offseason acquisition to take off straight out the gate.
Hmm.
Um, 1 month in, and Bryant is hitting 281 with a 681 OPS, a negative WAR. He's found himself on the IL, and maybe worst of all, since he plays in Colorado, 0 home runs.
Mm.
Is Chris Bryant ever going to hit a home run in Colorado?
Uh,
And is more so, is this a cause for concern or just a bad month?
well, the answer is yes, but the bigger answer is who cares, man? Like who even cares? Like Rockies right now,
Well, the Rockies have to see if they're going to.
their offense is rolling right now. Like Chris Bryant kind of low key went on the injured list. He's just dealing with some back soreness. They backdated a little bit. They don't miss him at all right now because who's gonna plug in in left field for them. He's really been in the lineup the whole time as the DH, but you got Connor Joe, best leadoff hitter in baseball, and absolute fan favorite. Like you're not gonna miss Chris Bryant when you get to see Connor Joe out there every day. And then you also have C.J. Crone, who is just one of the best hitters in the league, leads the league in home runs, and just crushes the ball every time he's up there. And even like watching the games, he hits the ball hard so much. Like he could very easily put up Nolan Arenado numbers with how well he's been hitting the ball, with a little better luck. So, you know, it's
I'm a
hard to be
big Crone
upset.
fan.
Randall Grichuk has really started to figure it out, and the offense is putting up a lot of runs for the most part. So Chris Bryant, like, it would be nice if you could wake up and if your back could get better and you start hitting a little bit, but you take your time. We'll see.
It's kind of
What we
crazy
can do
hearing
here.
someone say that they're not missing their $180 million man.
No, it's fine. Take your time. Take your time. Really, get right.
I mean, yeah, I don't expect Bryant to never hit a home run. Obviously, that was a joke. And he's had bad months or bad couple months before, so it's not that cause of that got that much of a cause for concern for me. But it was something to point out of the Rockies are 13-9 without Bryant really doing much. So going into that, and I personally don't expect it, but I want to see what you think. What is who or what is the biggest key or like X factors to the Rockies being a real contender in the NL West or NL wild card this year? And if you don't think they're going to be a contender, what is their ceiling?
Well, I mean, they're a contender right now, and like I said, the Rockies fan mentality is, hey, if this works, that's gonna be cool because there's some good teams in this division, and there were no expectations of the playoffs going into the year. The key so far, and probably going forward, have been just the starting rotation not being garbage, which is new. That's a new thing. So Herman Marquez, Kyle Freeland, Antonio Senzatella, familiar names. Now you got Austin Gomber and Chad Kuhl in the back end too, and they're sporting a respectable 4.10 ERA from their starting pitchers, and they play their home games at Coors Field, so they are doing just fine right now. They're not striking out a ton of batters. They're not going to be flashy about it, but by God, they're going to get a lot of double play balls and somehow just scrape by and give their offense a chance because their offense is pretty good right now. It could be even better. I'll use that as my other X factors is a couple of their big bats who just haven't gotten it going yet, but will be necessary for a playoff push, and that's Brandon Rogers and Ryan McMahon, two top prospects, high draft pick top prospects that they've had, who have been in the big leagues now. They're not rookies by any means, but they need to really show that the flashes of I don't want to say greatness, the flashes of like major league competence that they've shown in the past really need to come to light here this season, because if they do, it's automatically one of the scariest lineups in baseball. Right now they just got, wearing the Crons on. CJ Cron is just taking it to everybody, but they need some help, and those two guys are going to be key.
The Yeah, man. I'm also rooting for Brendan Rodgers to come back. My fantasy team needs that for our playoff push.
Mm.
Uh, I've had 3 fantasy conversations, and for those of you who do know me personally, you know how big of a deal that is that for me to actually care about fantasy this year. Secondly, it I want to stick with pitching.
Oh.
This is a team that one of the reasons that they've never really been able to get over the hump and be a true contender has been obviously they can't get pitchers to go to Colorado. And they have to draft or develop a specific type of pitcher. It's not always going to be that guy with the 100-mile-an-hour fastball. It's going to be guys who can get ground balls, throw strikes, limit base runners because of where they play. The Rockies are, I mean, is that still going to be? I know that was your X factor. Is that going to be the most likely area for you in case, like, sorry, is that going to be the most likely weakness for you if they were to fall short of what they hope to achieve this year?
Yes, 100%. Next question.
Uh,
This is not a pitching staff that should inspire confidence, but they're doing good right now. So let's just be happy with that, okay?
I mean, I just freely searched up uh, Herman Marquez and Kyle Freeland's numbers, and they're not looking too hot. But Gomber is doing fine so far, like you said. It's just a very inadequate rotation, but it's not like you can really get an adequate rotation in Colorado, Other
Yes.
than the rotation, is there any other area that you think might hurt them, like in terms of what they want to achieve?
No, I kind of answered. This is kind of the same question, honestly. Like I answered that, and it's those guys that I mentioned. Uh, they just need to put it together, really. And Charlie Blackman's defense, I guess I could throw out there too. Like he's an atrocious defender, so I guess if they hit too many balls out to right field where they try to hide him, that could look ugly. But otherwise, yeah, it's if the pitching actually pulls off this like miracle season of a league average ish for ERA from their starters and otherwise, then sure, let's go with that.
Last week, we heard about Goodnight Moon. We heard about certain specific players. Do you have anything specific or niche to the Rockies fan base or to the Colorado Rockies themselves that you've discovered this past week that you wouldn't have known if you weren't doing this?
Yeah, definitely. So last week was actually the 27th birthday of Coors Field, one of the most beautiful ballparks really
You've
around
been there.
baseball. I have been there, and it really helped cement my Rockies fandom. I didn't have to fake much because it was an awesome fan experience at that ballpark in Denver. So I'm there for the ballpark. Happy birthday, Coors Field, and I'll leave you with one fun fact here, which just has to be said. Um, so Austin Gomber, we talked about him. He's having a good year in the
Yes.
rotation. In his 69th career game on this was a little while ago, April 23rd versus the Tigers. Um, Gomber started the day with a career 4.26 ERA and ended with a 4.15 ERA. So that you know what that means, right? In his 69th career game, when he had recorded 9 outs in that game. He recorded 18 in total, but when he had recorded 9 outs in that game, he was at an exactly 4.20 ERA
In
in
his
his
69th
69th career
start.
game. Yep,
Nice.
there it
So
is. That's all. That's all that needs to be said about that.
if I were to give you, if I were to throw 100 pitches BP to you and you were sitting at the Coors Field batting practice, I'll even give you an aluminum bat. You think you can go deep?
Yeah, dude. I actually do.
Really?
I think so. I mean, I need maybe like a little bit of runway to like get back into baseball shape, but
Yeah.
I'm not a big guy either. I don't really hit for power, but I have played at high altitude, and it's not even as high altitude. I've played in like Flagstaff, Arizona, which is at like
Yeah.
5,000 ish feet elevation. The ball
Yeah.
just freaking flies, man. Like you don't know that the effects of high altitude unless you experience it in person. Like seeing it on TV, you're just like, yeah, well that's cores for you. Like, dude, it's so different. It's crazy. I think I could do it if
So
I had
this
a
is
good
my
amount of BP.
message. This is my message to the Colorado Rockies. Beat the Shift wants to come up and have a beat the Shift home run derby between all four of us. You can reach out to us at Uy.
That would be at beat the shift BP, and I didn't even get interrupted that time. So,
No,
uh,
you didn't. Do you have anything else to say about the Rockies?
I don't think so. That was a fun week, despite the 4 game sweep in there, and I kind of like the Rockies beforehand anyway. I'm still in the
Yeah,
Kronzon, Connor Joe, all day long, and
heck yeah.
yeah,
I think it's. I'm gonna throw this back to Uy. R- Royals fans, you're next. You're gonna Uy's heading over to Kauffman Stadium remotely,
yes,
and he's already begun his time as a Kansas City Royals fan. So keep your eyes peeled for next week's podcast, where Alex will tell you all about his time as a Kansas City Royal fan.
yes, let's do it. I kind of looked up today and didn't even realize that the Royals were playing a makeup game early morning on the West Coast here, and they lost 1-0. So good start to
You're
all of
already
that.
not being a good fan. You didn't even
No,
know their schedule, man.
they're all, yeah, and I do know now that they have the lowest strikeout percentage of any starting rotation in
S-
baseball. So
Save it for next week. Save it for next
I'm
week.
ready to watch a lot of balls in play. So let's see it.
Let's do it. Can't wait to hear all about it.
Yeah, well, that's going to do it for us today. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. If you did make it this long, consider subscribing to our podcast, wherever you listen to it, just so you know when we release new episodes. We should be back next week, as Farbod already mentioned. So, yeah, I think that's going to do it for us today. Thanks, everybody, one last time. And as always, Farbod.
Peace.